A patriotic man who loves his country. That's Leonard Carstensen.
Even though he fought in a war commonly referred to as the Forgotten War, he says that he won't ever forget a moment of it.
That's right. KCAU-9's Mallory Smith shares more in tonight's edition of Veterans Voices.
It seemed like at that age, we were very formative during the war. I would say 11, 12 years old. And you sort of set your sights on something such as serving the country or something of that order.
Leonard was among 2 million American soldiers who fought in the Korean War.
I was in the Navy. I entered the war in 1952 as a commissioned officer. And I was assigned to ships, primarily a destroyer.
He was in the 7th Fleet, Far Eastern Territory.
We, as a destroyer, always had to be on guard in case they went into the water or in case they didn't make it back. And I felt very bad about that so many people didn't make it back. But it was just a feeling, you soon become to accept that.
Nearly 5 million people died. Roughly 40,000 of those were American soldiers.
Generally, you didn't make too many close friends because they would be gone the next day, probably be wounded or killed or something like that. It seems like during that time you were more concerned with just staying alive.
Throughout the war, weather was extreme, ranging from unbearable heat to freezing cold temperatures. Leonard says he stayed focused through each obstacle he faced.
I feel very strongly about our country and our flag.
Many refer to the Korean War as the Forgotten War because of the little attention it received compared to other conflicts. But 60 years later, Leonard is 92 years old and one of the few servicemen left from the war. And he still remembers almost every moment.
Didn't have time. No. It was, it become, I can't say fun, but kind of interesting to go after the enemy.
Similar to many other brave men and women who have served, he says he would go through it all again if he had the chance.
It was a good experience in retrospect.
Would you go through it all again if you could?
Yes.
For Veterans Voices, Mallory Smith, KCAU 9 News.